All praise is due to Allah, the one who provides, withholds, tests, and enriches. Peace and blessings be upon those who walk the straight path with balance, honesty, and gratitude. Dear brothers and sisters, many people think financial problems begin in the marketplace, in the economy, or at work, but often they begin quietly inside our own homes, hidden, unnoticed, and normalized. Allah, in His wisdom, warned us not only about losing money, but about losing barakah. And when barakah leaves, no amount of income can bring peace. Let us reflect calmly and honestly on 7 hidden money traps that may already exist in our homes. Money earned without concern for halal. One of the greatest traps is when income enters the home without questioning its source. We say everyone does it. We say it's just business. But Allah teaches us that pure sustenance nourishes the heart while doubtful earnings poison it quietly. A home fed by questionable income may struggle with unrest, arguments, and anxiety without knowing why. 3 theories say, uncontrolled debt for desires, debt itself is not forbidden, but debt for ego, luxury, and comparison is a silent destroyer. Bigger homes, newer cars, latest devices, not because we need them, but because others have them. This trap steals peace, sleep, and dignity. It turns homes into pressure chambers rather than places of rest. Your wastefulness disguised as comfort. Allah warns against extravagance, even when we can afford it. Food thrown away, lights left on, water wasted, items bought and forgotten. This is not generosity, it is ingratitude in disguise. A home that wastes blessings slowly loses appreciation for them. Mention neglecting charity from what we love. Many give charity only from leftovers, items they no longer want, amounts that don't affect them. But Allah teaches us that true giving touches the heart first. When charity disappears from a home, love for wealth quietly replaces reliance on Allah. Financial secrecy between spouses. One of the most dangerous traps is financial silence, hidden spending, secret debts, unspoken expectations. Money issues left unaddressed become emotional wounds. Transparency builds trust. Silence breeds suspicion. Teaching children to love money, not values. If children grow up seeing money as power, status, or entitlement rather than responsibility, they carry that mindset into adulthood. When homes teach earning without ethics or spending without limits, the trap multiplies across generations. Forgetting gratitude during ease. The most subtle trap of all is forgetting Allah when finances improve. No more dua. No more humility, no more dependence. Gratitude is not words, it is obedience. When gratitude leaves, trials often follow to remind hearts of their true provider. Dear brothers and sisters, Allah does not want hardship for us. He wants balance, clarity, and barakah. A small home with halal income, gratitude, charity, and honesty is richer than a mansion filled with stress. Let us examine our homes not with fear, but with hope. Remove the traps. Invite barakah back. Money comes and goes, but peace in the home is a sign of divine mercy. May Allah purify our earnings, protect our homes, and place barakah in what we have. Ameen. Wealth in Islam is never described as absolute ownership. It is described as a trust placed temporarily in our hands. Everything we possess, our income, savings, property, and resources, belongs ultimately to Allah. We are not owners in the true sense, we are caretakers who will be questioned. This understanding alone reshapes how money should live inside our homes. When a person believes, consciously or unconsciously, that money is fully theirs, accountability weakens. Rots. But when a person understands money as an amana, every decision becomes intentional. How it is earned, how it is spent, and how it is shared. Allah allows wealth to enter our lives as both a test and a responsibility. Some are tested through scarcity, others through abundance. Abundance is often the harder test because it creates comfort, and comfort can quietly remove remembrance. A home may be financially stable yet spiritually vulnerable if wealth is treated as entitlement rather than responsibility. This is why the Quran repeatedly links wealth with accountability, reminding believers that provision is not proof of approval, nor is poverty proof of rejection. Both are examinations of the heart. Seeing wealth as a trust means recognizing that how money enters the home matters more than how much enters. Halal sustenance brings calm even when it is limited. Doubtful or unlawful earnings may appear to increase comfort, but they often carry restlessness, conflict, and dissatisfaction. Many homes experience unexplained tension, constant arguments, or emotional heaviness, not because of lack of money, but because of the quality of money. When wealth enters without mindfulness of Allah, it may fill pockets while emptying peace. A trust also demands careful stewardship. Islam does not encourage hoarding nor reckless spending. Balance is central. When wealth is spent carelessly, it reflects neglect of the trust. When wealth is hoarded out of fear, it reflects lack of reliance. True stewardship lies between these extremes: spending responsibly, saving wisely, and sharing generously. A home that understands this balance experiences stability not just financially but emotionally. Children raised in such homes learn moderation, patience, and gratitude rather than entitlement or anxiety. Another dimension of wealth as a trust is understanding that others have rights within our wealth. This includes obligatory rights such as zakah, as well as moral responsibilities like helping relatives, supporting the needy, and contributing to good causes. When these rights are ignored, wealth may remain, but its benefit diminishes. Giving is not a loss in Islam, it is a purification. A home that fulfills the rights within its wealth protects itself from greed and selfishness, which are among the fastest destroyers of family harmony. Treating wealth as a trust also influences decision-making within the household. Purchases are not driven purely by desire, trends, or comparison, but by purpose. Needs are distinguished from wants. Status is no longer the measure of success. Obedience and contentment are. This mindset reduces pressure, especially on spouses, and prevents financial competition from entering the home. When both partners see money as a trust from Allah, discussions become cooperative rather than confrontational. Children, too, absorb this understanding when it is lived, not lectured. When they see parents earn honestly, spend thoughtfully, and give quietly, they learn that money is a tool, not an identity. They grow up valuing effort over shortcuts and gratitude over greed. A home that treats wealth as a trust raises individuals who respect provision rather than chase it blindly. Understanding wealth as a trust keeps the heart attached to the giver, not the gift. Money comes and goes, careers rise and fall, but reliance on Allah remains constant. When wealth increases, gratitude increases. When wealth decreases, patience increases. The home remains emotionally stable because its foundation is not built on numbers, but on faith. This is the protection Allah places in homes that recognize wealth not as ownership, but as amana entrusted for a time to be used wisely, ethically, and humbly. Many financial problems do not begin with major sins or dramatic decisions. They begin with small habits that feel harmless and routine. These habits slowly shape the environment of a home until loss appears not always as poverty, but as anxiety, tension, and lack of contentment. Islam teaches that what we repeatedly allow becomes what we eventually normalize. When minor financial behaviors are ignored, they quietly grow into patterns that drain both resources and spiritual stability. One of the most common small habits is carelessness with spending. Buying things impulsively, repeatedly upgrading items that still function, or spending to satisfy temporary emotions may not seem sinful, yet over time this behavior conditions the heart to seek comfort in consumption. The danger lies not in a single purchase, but in the habit it creates. The heart begins to depend on spending for happiness, while patience and restraint weaken. This subtle shift gradually distances a person from gratitude, making them feel constantly unsatisfied even when surrounded by blessings. Another overlooked habit is delaying postponing payments, ignoring small debts, or avoiding budget planning often feels easier in the moment. Delay becomes avoidance, and avoidance becomes stress. Islam emphasizes fulfilling obligations promptly because unresolved responsibilities weigh on the heart. A home where financial matters are consistently delayed often experiences unease, even when income is sufficient. The burden is not always financial, it is psychological and spiritual. Small habits of justification are especially dangerous. When a person repeatedly says it's only a little or this doesn't really matter, the conscience slowly becomes numb. This mindset allows questionable practices to enter the home: minor dishonesty, exaggeration in transactions, or ignoring ethical concerns because the impact seems small. Over time, the heart loses sensitivity to right and wrong, and what once felt uncomfortable becomes normal. The loss here is not only money, but moral clarity. Neglecting gratitude is another subtle habit with serious consequences. Gratitude is not merely verbal, it is demonstrated through careful use of blessings. Complaining about what we lack, comparing our lifestyle to others, or constantly wanting more even silently trains the heart to focus on deficiency rather than abundance. This habit invites dissatisfaction into the home. When gratitude fades, joy fades with it, regardless of financial status. Okay? There is also the habit of overexposure to comparison. Constantly measuring one's home, income, or possessions against others, especially in an age of curated appearances, creates silent pressure. Even if no words are spoken, the heart absorbs the message that what it has is not enough. This leads to unnecessary spending, increased debt, and emotional frustration. Islam teaches contentment as a shield, but comparison slowly removes that shield without being noticed. Okay? Another small but damaging habit is financial silence. Avoiding conversations about money, whether out of fear, pride, or discomfort, creates confusion and misunderstanding. When financial expectations are unspoken, assumptions grow. Assumptions lead to resentment. Resentment leads to emotional distance. What began as a small habit of avoidance can slowly erode trust within the home. And consistency in charity, even when able, becomes a quiet loss. Giving only when reminded or only when it feels convenient weakens the heart's attachment to generosity. Charity is meant to soften the heart and protect wealth, but irregular giving turns it into an afterthought rather than a practice. See, over time, love for accumulation replaces love for sharing, and the home becomes emotionally closed, even if financially comfortable. These habits rarely cause immediate collapse, which is why they are so dangerous. Their harm is gradual and often invisible until the effects are deeply rooted. And 'tis the fallen. Islam warns believers not only about major sins, but about paths that lead toward harm. Small habits shape direction. When they are left unchecked, they quietly lead a home away from barakah, replacing peace with pressure and sufficiency with constant need. Barakah is not the same as quantity. A home can have abundant income, multiple sources of wealth, and material comfort, yet still feel strained, unsettled, and heavy. Barakah is the unseen blessing that allows little to be enough, and enough to feel fulfilling. When barakah is present, finances stretch, problems feel manageable, and hearts remain calm. When barakah is absent, even large amounts feel insufficient, and money disappears without clear benefit. This is why the loss caused by hidden money traps is often emotional and spiritual before it becomes financial. For one of the clearest signs of lost barakah is constant dissatisfaction. Despite steady earnings, the household feels perpetually behind. There is always something missing, something outdated, something better that others seem to have. This feeling is not rooted in actual need, but in an inner emptiness. Islam teaches that contentment is a form of wealth. When barakah leaves, contentment leaves with it, and the home becomes a place of silent frustration rather than gratitude. Another sign is money flowing out faster than it flows in without clear reason. Expenses increase unexpectedly. Savings never grow. Repairs, emergencies, and replacements happen repeatedly. While tests are part of life, continuous financial leakage often signals misalignment with ethical and spiritual principles. Barakah acts as protection when it is weakened, wealth becomes vulnerable. This does not mean every difficulty is punishment, but it does mean that consistent disorder deserves reflection. Loss of barakah also appears in strained relationships within the home. Arguments over money become frequent, even when there is enough to cover necessities. Small expenses trigger large emotional reactions. Stress replaces cooperation. Islam connects tranquility in the home with obedience and balance. When money becomes a source of tension rather than service, it indicates that wealth has taken a position it was never meant to occupy. Another impact of missing barakah is emotional exhaustion tied to earning. Work feels draining beyond its physical demands. Satisfaction from income fades quickly. There is little joy in providing, only pressure to maintain. When wealth lacks barakah, it becomes a burden rather than a means of support. The heart feels trapped in constant pursuit, never reaching a sense of arrival. Hidden money traps often remove barakah through waste and neglect. Wasting food, resources, or opportunities may seem minor, but it reflects disregard for blessing. Islam teaches that blessings are preserved through respect. A home that consistently wastes what it has sends a message of ingratitude, even unintentionally. Over time, this attitude seeps into all areas of life, weakening appreciation and increasing dissatisfaction. Your barakah also diminishes when wealth is disconnected from generosity. Money kept only for personal comfort loses its ability to nurture the soul. Charity purifies wealth and protects it from harm. When giving becomes rare or reluctant, wealth may increase numerically while decreasing in benefit. A home that gives experiences expansion beyond numbers, emotional warmth, unity, and a sense of purpose. Another overlooked factor is forgetfulness of Allah during ease. When finances improve, remembrance often decreases. Dua becomes occasional. Gratitude becomes assumed rather than expressed. The heart shifts from reliance to self-sufficiency. Islam teaches that remembrance anchors blessings. When remembrance fades, blessings lose stability. The result is a life that appears successful yet feels fragile. Barakah affects not only money but time and energy. A home without barakah feels rushed and overwhelmed. There is little time for family, reflection, or rest, despite having resources. Wealth consumes time instead of freeing it. This imbalance creates emotional distance and spiritual neglect, even when intentions are good. Children growing up in a home lacking barakah may witness abundance without peace. They may associate success with stress and provision with pressure. This silently shapes their worldview, teaching them to chase wealth rather than balance. Barakah, when present, models moderation, gratitude, and emotional security, creating a healthier relationship with money for the next generation. Hidden money traps do not announce themselves with loss. They announce themselves with discomfort. Barakah leaves quietly, and its absence is felt long before it is understood. Islam teaches believers to measure success not only by what they possess, but by how their possessions affect their hearts, homes, and relationships. Divine guidance is not reactive, it is preventative. Allah, in His mercy, does not wait for damage to occur before showing the path to safety. The Quran and Sunnah consistently address principles that protect believers from harm long before consequences become visible. In matters of wealth, this guidance is especially detailed because financial strain has the power to disturb faith, relationships, and emotional well-being within the home. One of the greatest protections Allah provides is clarity of priorities. Before wealth is discussed in numbers, it is discussed in values. Believers are taught to place obedience, honesty, and gratitude above accumulation. This prevents wealth from becoming an object of worship. When divine guidance is followed, money remains a servant, not a master. Homes that internalize this principle are shielded from obsession, envy, and constant dissatisfaction. Allah also warns against paths that lead to harm. Not only the harm itself is a powerful form of protection. By discouraging extravagance, debt for display, and wastefulness, Islam blocks the roots that often result in financial collapse. Many modern financial crises begin with small compromises justified by comfort or social pressure. Divine guidance intervenes early, reminding believers to live within balance and restraint before damage spreads. Another protective element is ethical earning. Islam emphasizes honesty, fairness, and transparency in all financial dealings. These principles are not merely moral ideals, they are safeguards. A home sustained by ethical income avoids legal complications, guilt, and instability. When trustworthiness is upheld, relationships with employers, clients, and communities remain strong. This stability protects the home from sudden financial or reputational harm. Divine guidance also protects through emotional regulation. Islam teaches patience during hardship and humility during ease. These emotional disciplines prevent extreme reactions to financial changes. When income decreases, patience prevents panic and despair. When income increases, humility prevents arrogance and recklessness. A home grounded in these teachings remains emotionally balanced, regardless of financial fluctuations. Another preventive measure is structured generosity. Zakah is not optional, and charity is strongly encouraged. This system ensures that wealth circulates rather than stagnates. Generosity purifies income and removes attachment that leads to greed. Homes that give regularly are protected from the fear of loss because their trust shifts from money to Allah. This mindset builds resilience during trials. Allah also provides guidance on family responsibility and justice. Financial fairness between spouses and dependents is emphasized to prevent resentment and neglect. When rights are fulfilled, homes are protected from emotional fractures. Islam discourages favoritism, neglect, and financial manipulation, all of which can quietly destroy trust. By addressing these matters early, divine guidance preserves harmony. Another form of protection lies in mindful consumption. Islam teaches moderation in eating, spending, and lifestyle. This guidance shields believers from health issues, debt, and dissatisfaction. When consumption is controlled, wealth is preserved, and appreciation increases. A home that consumes with awareness avoids the trap of excess that often leads to regret. Divine guidance also emphasizes remembrance and gratitude, which act as anchors for blessings. Regular remembrance keeps the heart aware of the true source of provision. Gratitude reinforces appreciation and contentment. These practices protect wealth by maintaining a healthy relationship with it. When remembrance fades, blessings become unstable. When gratitude is present, blessings endure. Another protective aspect is accountability beyond this life. Islam reminds believers that wealth will be questioned. This awareness shapes decisions long before mistakes occur. Knowing that every transaction, intention, and use of money matters encourages caution and sincerity. A home that lives with this awareness avoids many traps simply because its members think before acting. Divine guidance does not remove financial challenges, but it prevents unnecessary damage. It equips homes with principles that stabilize hearts before problems arise. By following this guidance, believers protect not only their wealth, but their peace, relationships, and spiritual well-being long before hardship ever knocks on the door.